Hey guys, my name is Jeremy with thewarriorsolution.com. In this video, I'm going to show you how to modify your Glock 17 with a bunch of really cool accessories from Bastion Gear. So starting out, anytime you are going to be working on a firearm or handling a firearm not on the range, you want to make sure that it is unloaded. Step 1 is eject the magazine. Step 2 is check chamber. And this guy is unloaded. So I'm going to remove my slide. That is done by pushing down and this little guy here, and on the same side over there, same thing. Pull the trigger, there we go. Alright, so remove the slide. And now let's just start with the slide backplate, why not? So this standard issue Glock backplate here is plastic, and there's nothing special about it. It's literally just plastic. The replacement part I'm going to be installing is this little guy from Bastion Gear. This is a CNC machined all metal piece that has been laser etched with my logo, so that's super cool. Alright, so what I'm going to do to get this old backplate off is take my Glock tool or a screwdriver, whatever you have laying around. This is the Glock tool specifically designed to work on your Glock from Bastion Gear again. All CNC machined, actually a super nice tool. Anyways, I'm going to use that to push down on my firing pin spacer sleeve, which is between my firing pin here and then the slide itself. There's a little lip there you're going to put your tool on, and you can use a screwdriver, you know, punch like this, whatever you have laying around. Depress that firing pin spacer sleeve, and then with your entire thumb on the slide plate, you're going to push it towards my right hand here. Now notice that my thumb is still over that spot where that plate came from. The reason for that is you have two parts in here that are under spring tension. This guy here, which is part of your extractor, and this, which is that firing pin spacer sleeve. And if you don't maintain positive control of that space as you're removing your backplate, that stuff will come flying out at 1,000,000 miles an hour and you'll never see them again. So be aware of that. To install your new plate, you're going to start sliding it into the grooves where the old plate was, and then I'm going to depress that firing pin spacer sleeve. You'll see that the replacement backplate slides up just a bit, and now I can do the same thing with this little plunger here. So all I'm going to do is push that down so it clears the backplate, and then slide the backplate forward until you hear it click. There we go. Once you hear it click, just give it a pull in the opposite direction, make sure it's all seated and everything, and now you have your slide backplate installed. So there is part number 1. For the second thing, I'm going to be replacing my slide lock. This is the replacement part from Bastion. This little part is what holds your slide on and actually makes the whole gun function correctly, basically. So the replacement part from Bastion is just a little bit wider than the OEM part, just to make it easier to actually get the slide off. So with this little guy, this is another super easy installation. You'll notice there is a leaf spring, which is right here where the end of the tool is, and all I'm going to do is push down. That'll take spring tension off that part, and then it can just slide right on out. So here is my old slide lock and the new slide lock, and you can see the difference there is pretty apparent how much wider the Bastion plate is, or the Bastion slide lock is, versus the OEM. Now there's one really important thing to look at and be aware of when you're installing these is this groove here. There's a groove on one side but not on the other. So with that groove, when you reinstall it, make sure that groove is facing the shooter, so facing you this way. So I'm going to start it in that slot there. So when you're installing it, it should look like this. So that groove is facing the back of the gun towards the shooter, and it is also up. So not like this, and not like this. The bottom here, that little lip, is what catches that leaf spring. Depress that spring. There we go. And then slide my slide lock in there and make sure that it is in fact locked on the spring and is not going to slide off one way or the other. Now that is significantly better. Whew, wow, that's a lot better. So there's just a little bit more surface area here for your fingers to grab onto for that takedown. And that actually is significantly better than the OEM part. Awesome. Now this is not going to stick out far enough to impede any holster use or anything like that, so no need to worry. It just makes taking the gun apart just that much easier. Next up, I am going to replace these plastic pins with stainless steel pins. So I'm going to push that pin out. The black pin is plastic from Glock, and obviously the stainless steel pin is the silver one from Bastion. So I'm just going to put it back into that same slot. Push down, even it out. There we go. So there's one pin installed. Next up, I'm going to replace this front pin right here. And this pin actually has some grooves in it. This is the replacement pin, but these little slots here hold your trigger bar and your slide release. So you may find that it's a little bit difficult to get this pin out. What you need is a little bit of clearance between the frame and the table you're working with so that the pin actually has room to come out. There are jigs and stuff you can buy for this, but I'm just going to use a standard, roll of tape just to get a little bit of elevation there. And now I'm going to use another Glock tool by Bastion Gear. This is basically the same thing as the pin punch on this tool here, except it's got a flat top. And I'm going to use that flat top and a non-marring hammer. That means it's either plastic or rubber. And just, there we go. So the cool thing about these pin punch tools is the punch actually maintains the position, proper positioning of everything in there, so you're not gonna, have parts flying all over the place. So here we have the old pin and the upgrade pin from Bastion Gear. So I'm now gonna basically just go the opposite direction. There we go. Now I'm just going to even it out. Cool. Alright, so now I've got stainless steel pins. I have an upgraded slide lock lever here. And now, for the most difficult part, I'm going to put on this CNC machined laser etched magazine baseplate. So if you didn't know, Glock magazines have two little pins or little ears on the sides that help keep your baseplate on. So removing baseplates and exchanging them out is a little bit of a task. So that's where this specialty tool from Bastion Gear comes in. It's got a little, basically a handle here where you can push down the magazine detent there on the plate, push down, and then actually use this to get the leverage you need to pull that old plate off over those lips. Now, again, using your thumb to capture that spring so it doesn't go flying. This also will go flying if you're not careful. And then here we have those little ears I was talking about. So these little guys here are super annoying. So what you are going to do is take your new plate and slide it. Make sure you orient your base plate correctly. Slide it, just get it started. And then here's where you have to get a little bit creative. So the problem is this base plate from Bastion is CNC machined out of metal. So it's not going to flex or bend like the standard issue plate from Glock is. This is just real cheap plastic, and it flexes and bends and, you know, no big deal. With the metal plates from Bastion, you got two options to get them over those ears and, you know, locked in place. Option one is to cut those ears off completely. Option two is figure out a way to compress the magazine body itself inward just enough where your plate can slide over those ears and then install correctly. So I'm going to go with option two, and I'm going to get a little bit creative with how I'm going to apply that pressure. So these tools, these are Glock tools, again from Bastion Gear, and what I'm going to do is place them basically over those ears, or the general area of those ears, and then grab a C-clamp or any kind of clamp. This is just a Milwaukee clamp from Home Depot, not sponsored. And I'm going to clamp down Alright, so I've got my plate on in position. Now I'm going to release the clamp. Don't need those anymore. Now I'm going to make sure that that detent is where it needs to be. There we go. So I've got my detent in position, and now I am pretty confident this base plate is never coming off accidentally without a whole lot of force. And that is, again, how this tool is used, and makes it possible to remove those in the future if you want to change them out. And now the last step is just putting everything all back together. So put my slide back on. There we go. And there we go. Some upgraded Glock parts by Bastion Gear. If you want to pick up your own Glock parts, the link in the description will take you straight to Bastion Gear's website. It is an affiliated link, which means this channel will get a little bit of commission for whatever you buy for no additional cost to you, so it does help the channel out. Also, if you use the coupon code WARRIOR20 at checkout, you will save 20% off whatever you buy. In addition to the parts I showed here in this video, Bastion Gear also has additional parts for Glocks. This is a extended magazine release lever for a Gen 4. This is a Gen 3, so not compatible with this model. It'll be for a future project. They also have grip plugs, magazine wells, and all kinds of other goodies for your Glock, just to make it yours. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.